Welcome to the Stargate Finance Community Call, where we discuss proposals and ideas that will help shape and govern the Stargate protocol. How's things going today, Max Primo? How are you?
Great.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so we've got a few things that have been going on here in the background. One thing that I'm super stoked about, and some of you may have experienced or have the ability to experience right now, we've done a slow rollout on this, but the ability to have the native gas delivery when doing a transfer. So now, like if you don't have native gas on the destination chain, that is finally available. So it's I think about 25% rollout right now. Should be 50%, or maybe it's 50%. Users will be able to test that out and make sure that it's working good, and then should be 100% rollout tomorrow. So this is something that's like been a huge pain point for I don't know how many people, like even myself, like going over to other places and having to like scrounge up native gas or something. The ability to do this is like yeah, I tested it out last night. I did a whole speed run to like go to all the different networks, and yeah, being able to do like have ETH on mainnet and be able to do all the way to run all the way around all the other 6 networks. Pretty stoked to be able to drop yourself gas and be able to do that. So yeah, I'm gonna put up a video here shortly. I just have to edit it all just so that it's not so long during the transfer times. But yeah, really stoked about that and how well that works. So hopefully that's some of you are able to test that out, and yeah, it should be tomorrow. It should be a full rollout. So yeah, I don't know if anybody has had a chance to see that or checked it out, or yeah, and if you do, please give us some feedback on it as you check it out. Yeah, I don't know, Primo, did you have a chance to see that one, or have you tested that?
Yeah. I've seen it. It was awesome. I think it was always kind of, and again, I think the goal will be to like extend this stuff even further. But I think one of the biggest pain points for users is something we highlighted back in the video in like November was going to another ecosystem and landing and like needing to leave to some centralized exchange, get gas, deposit gas, claim the transaction, and then like do stuff, right? So we took away the first part, which is like, okay, now the execution can happen. So you can unstake here and stake there and you're good. But the ability to like have excess gas to do things as you're migrating the ecosystem is a way better for consumer experience. And I think that's the end goal. It's like enable developers to create sort of best possible consumer experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this like definitely takes care of all of that. Like, and what's cool is it's not like you can have uh, like the default amount, so it's kind of like a set amount that's like should be good for like an approval or maybe a couple of swaps on the destination chain, or you can set a custom amount, or we do have like a maximum amount that will allow to like go across when you go to the destination chain. But the ability to just like send a custom amount, because you're like, oh, I know I need to do X amount of transactions over here. I want to be ready to go, so you can just have that ready, like have that. So yeah, I don't know. Seems like it's going to be pretty cool. Would love to hear from from everybody as they if they get a chance to try it out. Yeah, and give us some feedback on it, please and thank you. But it should be 100% rollout tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. One other, I guess, like update here too that's coming out. We should be having the LZScan. So now you'll be able to track your transactions, because right now both transactions are independently on. You have to like go to each block explorer for in order to see your transactions. And with LZScan, there's going to be a beta version that's rolling out. So pretty yeah, it'll be just like kind of basic, I guess, in the beginning parts with the being able to track your transaction, just like actually follow like what's happening, because that's what a lot of people are like wondering, like, hey, I sent my transaction, where is it now, or what's going on with it. So you'll be able to check it out, be able to see like where it's going, and yeah, that's going to be like for the user part, and like developers have been asking for this too. So the whole goal here too is to like roll this out for developers to make their building experience and like being able for them to like have the scene what they need, and build this out for them so that they can it can like improve their experience as well. I don't know if you've got any more color on that, Primo or Max.
Yeah, I mean, from my end, I think zero scan is like one of the most demanded things in terms of tooling. I think everybody, Stargate had sort of created its own way to kind of track transactions and have some idea of where everything is. But this just formalizes. So anybody building now Stargate can use this formally and stop needing to like do these things on its own. To just have the user be able to see like, okay, transaction happened on chain A, it's waiting the X number of blocks, transaction happened on chain B, like very firm and clear path. So no user needs to sort of ask like, oh, hey, where is my transaction currently? And so hopefully that will be clear to like how many the default number of block comps are. So if you're coming from Polygon, like this is how many minutes approximately you're going to wait. If you're coming from Ethereum, if you're coming from Avalanche, and so on. So all that stuff is, again, tooling just makes all the difference for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and on the developer side, super excited to get this in the hands of anyone building on top of Layer 0 and Stargate. It's going to be super eye-opening, right, to see, as you're testing transactions going over the network, seeing both sides is going to be super valuable to that experience. So really excited about it.
Yeah. So that's wonderful building tool here to help with the ecosystem, and hopefully everybody gets a chance to take a look at that very soon. Okay. Next up, we've got, we had the Optimism proposal passed. That was end of last week. So that is, that's passed. So now it's up on Optimism right now as well on their governance forum. And might have to make a couple of tweaks with that. I think Optimism had some concerns about it. So we may have to just make a couple of changes. We're going to keep the parameters of what we've had in there. Like we won't add anything in, I don't think, but we may just have to tweak some stuff. So we'll stay posted on that. I'll see if Maki gets here. He might be able to share some more color on that. But so that's with the OP stuff. And then, of course, the staking the protocol owned liquidity that got staked as well. So now the protocol is now like making revenue off of the CRV in staking through through Vodium and also through and Redacted also voted for us as well. So with Vodium, looking at that before there, it looked like, and I know some people were a little bit questioning like how the profit worked or whatever, but it was looking like for every dollar we used to bribe, we were receiving $1.39 at that time with the price of CRV, $1.39 in CRV tokens. So, originally when we had posted this, I think it was like 97 cents. So there was like a big concern about like, oh, we're losing while bribing. But I think after this round, because of the UST, that all those bribes going away, it seems like we have been in the money now with this. So pretty cool to see this bribing working and where this will all get used and how that'll all work. We'll need Maki on that. But I think overall, this is going to work and seems to be going well. As far as how much money do we make on that, I'll have to look at the actual. I'll have to break those numbers down there to get that exact number. But right now, obviously, being able to have being net positive, I guess, as far as what we've received through the bribes, and then using that to then kind of help build the flywheel within the Curve ecosystem. So I'll have to get back to you on that, Ray J. Okay. Now, the next other things here, we've got Max with us, and we've been talking about a variety of stuff here in regards to, emissions and, let me pull this up. With all the emissions and like the liquidity incentivization programs and all this sort of stuff. So, Max has done a huge breakdown on how we can be more efficient, how things could, better breakdowns for like emissions, what that could look like. So this is now let's maybe go through all this, Max, if you don't mind. We'll try and keep a high level stuff here for everyone so that they know like what kind of things we're hitting on and what we're aiming for. And then we've kind of this is like 3 proposals in one essentially. So these have all been broken down and are now live on Snapshot for voting. So yeah, if we can just like go through these, Max, that would be awesome. So maybe let's start with like the ETH. I don't know. Where do you want to start? ETH pools or the pathways?
Yeah, we could start at the ETH pools. Yeah, so really excited about this. The ETH pool proposal, I think, passed. Was it about 2 weeks ago? And now there's another proposal that went up to go about incentivizing liquidity to this pool, and then also specify the pathway weights. So essentially, what this proposal is outlining is just the initial incentive proposal to incentivize liquidity on these pools. It's really the goal is to just incentivize liquidity, get liquidity in these pools so that people can transfer ETH between Ethereum, Optimism, and Arbitrum. Really excited about this because I think I'm forecasting a good amount of transaction activity going from the L2s back to ETH. Just because the main bridge, I think there's like a 7-day lag in doing this transfer of ETH from Arbitrum to Ethereum. So I think there's going to be a lot of demand there to do this over Stargate. So
yeah, absolutely.
Really excited about this one.
Yeah, this will be a huge incentive for people to come this way. Like, using the main bridge is, those ways is just like way too painful. Like nobody's doing that. I don't actually personally know anybody that's bridged, back and waited the 7 days. So having something like this and having it with like with Stargate's model that is like super secure and what we're offering, and especially to have this as like an incentivized area for people to come. Like this could become extremely attractive, and I think should be like pretty a very positive way of doing it here. So. As it's looked like here, you've kind of like outlined like, hey, this is what makes the most sense for where we should, put, the weights, or I guess the pathways and all that work.
The way that the pathway weights work with the Delta algorithm is that, so the Ethereum liquidity pool will have, certain amount of liquidity. Let's say it has, 40 million in ETH in liquidity. It would then share in that liquidity with Optimism and Arbitrum, and the weights determine how much liquidity is shared between those pathways. So in this proposal, right, the ETH pool on Ethereum would share in liquidity with the Optimism and Arbitrum pools 50-50. And this is just basically the way the Delta algorithm works in determining how much liquidity can be transferred across these different pathways.
Gotcha. So well, it's great that you're analyzing all this stuff and are able to like figure out where this can be the most effective. That's like going to be a better way. Just as we're like aiming for capital efficiency and everything, this will definitely help. So if anybody has questions, comments on that, please run through it. But I mean, this just we've got our metrics guy looking an analyst looking at this. So. Pretty stoked that we can how we can like deal with this. So okay, the next one, and of course that's up on Snapshot now too, so you can vote on that one for the ETH pool implementation incentives. Obviously I think this makes a ton of sense to have this, and will be a great way to like optimize when we integrate the ETH pools. As far as the next one here for pathways weighting process so this is for everything then.
So this is for all the pools within Stargate. And again, this is basically the pathway weighting is a system that allocates liquidity to different pools. So it really is determining, right, like if there's a certain amount of liquidity, let's say there's 100 million in the ETH USDC pool, the pathway weighting determines how much each of the other destinations can transfer from the ETH USDC pool without incurring insane equilibrium fees. So the weighting system is going to be designed to reflect the actual demand from each of the pools. So, say there's a lot of demand from the Avalanche USDC pool coming from ETH USDC. This pathway weighting would reflect that, so that more liquidity could be transferred from that specific pathway without incurring equilibrium fees. So again, the goal of like designing this algorithmic approach for determining the pathway weights is to make sure that the right amount of liquidity is allocated to each specific pathway that reflects the actual demand. Previously the pathway weights were set statically, and when they're set statically, right, like there might be liquidity allocated to a pathway. Say ETH USDC is allocating $10 million to the Polygon USDT pathway, but there's not actually a lot of demand or volume along that pathway. It's actually an inefficient use of liquidity. Yep. So this algorithm would basically allocate that to where people actually want to move their funds over Stargate and actually want to transfer the liquidity.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so just better use of the funds and making sure that that's like where the demand is. So yeah, that seems like a very positive thing to be doing here. So seems like a no-brainer to me. But have a look at that, folks. You can head over to Snapshot and vote on that one as well. And I think the final part of that was like with the ongoing emissions and kind of the proposal on that in order to ensure that we've got, or I guess just like the incentives needed to just make everything work.
Yeah, and we've spoke about this on the past few calls, but essentially like making sure that each of the pools are incentivized in such a way where we have enough TVL in those pools to support demand without having excessive emissions and excessive TVL, right? So making sure that there's enough TVL within the Stargate system to support the demand, and again, using a model that's based off of historical transaction data. And just doing this in a three-step process, right? So first figuring out, okay, what is the target TVL for each Stargate pool given historical demand? That's the first step. Then the second step, looking at the historical pool APYs. I think APY is actually, it's one of the most, misinterpreted stats within DeFi, right? Like, so like the protocol is not setting APY.
Right.
The protocol is setting the emissions per pool, and APY is an output of that. So, right, like the protocol is setting emissions, the Stargate emissions for each pool. Then LPers will come in and provide liquidity, and basically the APY is the annualized emitted value over the actual TVL coming in. So, say we set the emissions, more TVL comes in, that computes out an APY. Say now emissions somehow go lower, then maybe TVL comes out, right? So it's constantly reflecting that APY calculation, which is why a pool will always have an historical APY. So we've tackled the first two goals of this model, right? We're figured out the target TVL for a pool. We figured out the historical APY for a pool. Given those inputs, along with block times, we'll then compute the needed STG emissions for each pool. Again, perfect. Like this model is focused again on figuring out what is that target TVL for each pool without creating excessive emissions for the protocol.
Right. Yeah, and just being able to be dynamic so that we can, use the emissions effectively, and having that as like the most effective way of using them. So, okay. I don't know. Has anybody got questions on any of this stuff? I know we've talked about it a couple of times, but overall, like I think this is an extremely good way of allocating all this stuff, or allocating emissions, and it's just only going to make the protocol more efficient as we've kind of outlined here. But if anybody's got questions here, let's bring you up, Pinocchio.
Howdy.
Hey.
I'm curious, wouldn't it be easier to model and possibly, because we're basically renting liquidity, right? Wouldn't it be easier if we converted the Stargate to like USDC and just paid easy target percentage APY that way? Wouldn't that be a less volatile outcome as well for LPers and might result in us needing to pay less.
It's an interesting idea. Yeah, I think like it's a good point in that fluctuations within the STG price will affect the overall APY. So I think it's a good idea. I think we should definitely look into it.
It's a pretty horrible way to end by paying somebody with something really volatile, you know, like principle, if we're trying to incentivize, say, an optimism token, which we don't support yet, but we have some optimism now from the airdrop. Ideally, we could incentivize with optimism tokens, or if it's an ETH pool, then we incentivize with ETH and we just give a flat percentage. I just don't know why other protocols haven't thought about that, but I might just be nice.
I mean, so this model, I mean, it would be updated on a monthly basis, so it would have some control, but I agree, like, within fluctuations of the SDG price. I think, like, why other protocols do it, I can't speak for them, but I think probably operationally, there's just, like, a bigger operational challenge, but, I mean, I definitely see the point in, you know, stable emissions have less, you know, you have more clarity in terms of what the overall emissions are going to be over a specific period of time.
Yeah, thanks for taking the question. Cheers.
Hey, thanks, Pinodio. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know if there's if anybody else has comments on that, or Maki, if you've got anything to shed on.
A quick thing just to bring up. I want to bring it up here because this just kind of got brought up to me last night, and I'm a little bit nervous about competitive cycles if we take a long time to do this. So anyways, there is potentially the opportunity to list this, Justin's USDD asset, right? If we did it, it would not be tied to any other assets, or it wouldn't be tied to USDC, to USDT, to BUSD. So there's no like contagion effect. It would just be solely a bridge for that asset. In the same way ETH is only ETH to ETH. They would, put up all of the liquidity, let's say some external party is going to provide all sort of liquidity for this pool. So it's no incentives. And so it's just purely fees, right? We would become the only major bridge supporting this pathway right now from Ethereum to BNB chain for this asset. It would cost Stargate nothing in terms of emissions, and we would make sort of all the fees. So I have no clue if that would end up being a high fee, low fee, what that would end up looking like long term in terms of volume. But I do think being the first of something typically has a reasonable competitive edge. I wanted to hear broad thoughts around this. I know with UST things are fairly sensitive, but in this case, we're not getting anybody external. We're not getting no users are LPing here. There's no swapping from that asset to other assets. There's no risk. The protocol doesn't house any risk. So yeah, I wanted to hear if there's any strong opinions in either way. This is one of sort of many requests we're starting to get of this nature as Stargate's becoming more and more popular, which is great.
Jeez, yeah, that's for something like that. Like if the protocol isn't going to take on any risk and the LP, it's all going to be taken care of, or I shouldn't say taken care of, but there will be the liquidity put up. So if those who want to take on extra, if they do want to take on that risk, they could LP with it. But for the most part, anybody that wants to use this as the bridge will have the liquidity to do so, and there's no risk for LPs. We don't need to incentivize that either. So yeah, I don't see how this isn't a win so we just collect fees. We're collecting the fees of everybody coming through. So that seems like a super win.
If I can put some color, I do think something that is cool is if we were to have a path where anyone can come up based on, we say, well, you need to put up at least, 5 million on each side or 1 million on each side based on the amount of chains you're picking and so on. They come in, they do this, that's fine. What I think needs to be kind of have the avail or kind of the authorization of Stargate holders is do we appear in the token list? I think that's where things are important, where maybe we have kind of a TCR, we have a token list powered by Kleros, we have something that just makes sure that we don't have obvious scam kind of in the token in a drop down with like the token. That would be like my only kind of place where I would put a little guardrails or something, a little kind of curation potentially, just to make sure like we are sure that no scams or like I don't know, strange things happen. Like we still have like a little bit of control per se. And then these pools can maybe later down the road apply for quote unquote like a whitelist for emissions and so on. I think that's one way to do it, and that could be extremely like favorable for Stargate itself, like onboarding like more assets, like making sure they don't necessarily have to go through governance to have especially if they provide liquidity, like that's not a problem for us. Like we're just like it's just positive news or fees and so on. So just having like a little bit of guardrails to make sure we don't have any kind of weird token being spammed in the token list. That's kind of just my only concern, and that would be one-sided thing. Like no, I don't know, multi-asset pool with like potentially some risk. So yeah, anyways, that's how I would do it potentially, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. It's just making sure we can still have like as target holders like a little bit of control on what is being displayed to the end user.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm of the opinion also that in the long term, and there are some technical hurdles to doing it purely open and basically purely open to all long tail assets like the DEXs were able to do. So in I think long term, like ideal world, we just allow anybody to add any asset. I definitely agree. Token list is great. Again, all the DEXs adopted this model for a reason. I do think we have a little bit less risk than a DEX because nobody in Stargate can basically swap to that asset, right? On a DEX, you can make a mistake and buy the wrong asset from a token list, and then you're wrecked, right? With this, you're simply bridging that asset to another chain. And so like you have to have the asset already. So you've already made the decision, like you need to have it in your wallet to do something, right? It's not like you can't accidentally go from your ETH, to your scam asset X, like you can in a DEX. So there's like a little bit more inherent guardrails built in, but you also don't want like a spammy experience. So a curated list is probably an ideal way long-term anyways. But I've been thinking about how we would do this in the long tail, like from a technical side. So still a little bit of work to do there, but I definitely agree that I think it has huge potential to allow anybody to add their assets. Any projects can now as part of the community pool they're doing, they just add a little bit of the asset into Stargate. Now they have easy bridging already set up for their community. You have the ability to allow people to incentivize their own pools. Lots of cool things that we could do there.
Yeah, and this they would definitely unlock, like you were saying here, unlock other other tokens to just be able to do this. But yeah, the token list is a great idea too, just to have that curation in a sense. Trying to keep things permissionless, but the curation would be, I think, ideal, just so you don't have that spam. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting one that to come up. But yeah, but I don't know, anybody. Oh, we got a Pinodio back up again.
Howdy. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a reasonable idea and it's aligned with being permissionless. I also think that quality is probably underserved in the crypto market, and take for granted that a lot of users don't do deep research. So having a platform that puts itself behind assets of high quality, I think there's something to be said for that. I don't know if that's an exact fit for Stargate, but I think that could be a pretty good model, especially given the issues we're seeing with UST. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, well, I don't know. Keep us posted on that, Primo, with some developments around that. Yeah, and I guess like anybody that has comments around that, or even if you're thinking about bringing in another asset, I mean, obviously bring it to Commonwealth and put it up there as a proposal, and yeah, we can see what can happen there. But yeah, I don't know. Anything further on that topic? Anybody?
So I just want to make sure that there are no, let's say, large complaints on the USDZ side before it goes to Snapshot. I wanted to sort of discuss it here and then talk if nobody has any red flags. And it seems like a reasonable thing to do. We'll probably have them put it up to Snapshot.
Yeah. Yeah, especially as it's like a siloed, as you're saying, like siloed risk. So we're not going to end up like, with
yeah, 100% siloed risk, 100%, not emissions, none of that stuff. So we'll just be enabling, we'll be the primary bridge for another asset.
Yeah, that seems like, I don't know, it seems pretty positive. But yeah, if anybody has questions, concerns on that, let us know. But yeah, let's that could be a good thing to move forward on and like kind of set the precedent for that too, with other assets being able to do this. All right. Okay. Maybe now that Maki, now that you're here, let's if you don't mind, let's just kind of go back. If you can just touch on the kind of like where what was up with the bribes here and everything, just if you can walk us through that. Yeah, I kind of touched on how the bribes were seemed to be profitable based on Vodium, or what is it on the Llama? What's that one called? When you click from Vodium page, you can see where all the
Yep.
yeah, the bribes are and everything.
So far, Monday the proposal finished to stake the poll, POL. We have so far aggregated 28,000 USD in Curve mainly, and $1,000 worth of convex. So that is good. This is only with a few days of staking. We have way more days coming up. We are 39% profitable. Basically, like for every dollar that we put in, we are making 39 cents in profit. So that is very positive. We drive around 350K in Stargate approximately. So yeah, that's very cool to see. That's very encouraging. I think right now there's no kind of hurry to basically like change anything. We're probably gonna do another round very quickly, and then from there see how all of this behave. I've been some two private bribers have been reaching out to be potentially take over kind of the Votium, so this way it is less expensive for us. I'm also looking into Covenant, which is a new protocol leveraging optimistic oracle, where we can specify the percentage of emission that we want to have. So for example, we want to say we want to have 3% of all the CRV emission. If the target is not hit by our voters, basically we don't pay it. So that makes it extremely cool. We don't have to kind of shot in the dark per se with the bribes. So that is super interesting. There's also two other features that were quite fun. They have kind of a sticky feature, meaning if you vote for Stargate USDC over 5 rounds or so, this can be rewarded. So that is also pretty fun. There is there's also an option for OTC private OTC deals and blacklist per se, so we can make sure that specific addresses can only can only be rewarded directly and can be prevented to go in the retail pool. So double dip with Votium or Pitch or any other platform basically. So that is what I'm looking into at the moment a little bit, just to make sure we are spending our money as carefully as possible. We will be staking any proceed by end of this week, and from there vote back basically emission, so we can cut our bribes by at least maybe 50K for the next round or something similar. So that is or maybe potentially more. It really depends on CRV price action, kind of all the proceeds from the farming.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of where we are right now, exploring all of this, and should have more news anytime soon. If this make more sense to use, we will probably test it out.
So you're saying right now, just kind of get some numbers down out of this. So I think it was about USD notional was just over 300,000 in bribes was spent, then we are getting, you were saying so far, like, and this has only been what, a few days at this point, so we've almost generated.
It's been 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days.
Okay. So we've
So 15,000 per day.
so we've almost generated 10% of what we've spent in just a matter of. Okay, that seems promising. Yeah. So yeah, that's good to hear. And then yeah, of course, we'll be able to use, now that we're essentially receiving what we're paying to bribe, we'll actually can start using that to bribe, to I guess like direct liquidity to ourselves. Therefore, like you had mentioned, not having to bribe as much and slowly kind of take off the bribe. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. And once we, I think, once we aim for, I don't know, something like a million CRV or something similar, we can just stop any bribes or anything, and then see how we can basically redirect these fee, like whether this is for POL of Stargate, whether this is for some other actions, like this can be decided by governance.
Cool. Okay, so overall seems seems like the bribes are working and doing what they need to, what they were intended to. So yeah, great, and thanks for keeping us posted on this. And yeah, we can we'll keep you keep you posted on that, on developments with this. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what else we want to discuss here today. I know we've kind of looked at the reunit wallet. That's been up for a while. I think, Name will sometime be on to, we'll get a little more information from him on this. But yeah, I don't know, for anybody that's had a look at this, that's been up for a while. But yeah, just like the reunit wallet here, it's kind of like a multi-network wallet, and, connecting to all the chains networks that we support. And then be able to interact with like all the dApps and everything, and especially being able to use this across where we are here with Stargate and any of the layer 0 ecosystem. I think this is going to make a lot of sense. And as is like in the statement here, it's like Reunit has the sole objective of simplifying the lives of users who are increasingly lost in the management of their portfolio. And yeah, I don't know how everyone else manages with this, but yeah, when you've got assets across like, half a dozen networks, things can get lost pretty quickly. So I think this could be like a positive idea, or positive solution here. He's looking to launch by the end of June. I'm not sure where the timeline is on that right now, but that's hopefully we got some more updates around that, and then looking to do some sort of an airdrop for VE STG holders. And yeah, I don't know, that's kind of what's going on with that. But I don't know, has anybody had a chance to look at that, or thoughts around a wallet, or what could happen there? I know there was some questions and concerns about like giving out all the tokens, if he's if that's the token model that he wants to use, using that right out of the gate. And then where the the funds would raise to be able to add to creating pools, and what the fees would look like, and that kind of stuff. So I don't know, anybody.
I did speak with Name a little bit, by the way.
Okay.
And right now he is basically like he is completing or finishing like a fundraise, and they will be able to hire like 4 or 5 additional people to help out on design, on backend, and a bunch of other things. So that seems pretty bullish in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know, we'll hopefully get a little more color from him here as things kind of unfold. But that's great to hear, because something like this is like very needed, and being able to build it kind of on the layer 0 rails and all that is going to be pretty cool. All right. I'm seeing the airdrops. I think he said to VE STG is what was the plan there. But yeah, feel free to jump into the Commonwealth there, Ray J, and have a look. And then what about sushi integration? Yes, that's I think they're still plugging away at that. I think they've been doing like swaps on testnet and it's been working. So yeah, I think yeah, positive movement there. Anyways, yeah, we'll have to follow up with them and just get like a further update. But I think all positive directions, anyways, for on Sushi side. I don't know if you've heard anything, Primo, anything further there, but yeah, yeah. For the most
No,
part,
I
it
think
sounds
those
like
guys are crushing away. Like Stargate composability was a component of it. My understanding is things are working pretty smoothly on their end. So yeah, I think they're going to roll out something pretty cool.
wicked. Okay. I don't know. Anything else that anyone wants to discuss or ask about? You know, we've covered a bunch here today. Yeah, one thing I was kind of wondering about is like the timing of this call. How does everybody feel about this? Is this like, you know, for some people it's you know, a little early, or sometimes it could be a little bit later. I don't know. Like we've got, I think most of our audience would be like North America and Europe. And just wondering if like that, if this makes sense, because I know this is kind of interfering with a lot of people's business day or work day. But yeah, if this makes sense, is this time? Like I've usually been a fan of these times because it like kind of covers all time zones, but there's always like trade-offs. We can end up like, you know, excluding some people, or they can't make it because of certain reasons. And of course I want to be able to get as much engagement as possible in these calls. So, yeah, I just wanted to open that question up and see if there's like anybody that feels about how they feel about it. But I see we've got Daniel and Patrick of saying, yeah, it's fine in Germany. And yeah, then...
a great group of people here right now too, 135 people.
Yeah, not bad.
Which I think is like reasonable numbers. So just to like recap, with what's going up, there's Max's proposal. There's like 3 things going up to Snapshot 4 if we count the USDD, or 3 things going up to governance.
Yeah, 3 on Snapshot at this time, plus yeah, the USDD.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
All right, and then presumably ETH pools are going to be starting ASAP. So yeah, that will be, there'll be a lot of stuff coming. That'll be good. It'll be interesting to see how that goes and how volume goes there.
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. Okay. All right.
Okay. Yeah, that should be good then. Yeah, and as far as frequency of these calls, it's like, you know, do we want to go to like a 2-week thing? Is this too frequent for everyone here, having it like every week? And I know even like maybe on the developer side too, maybe like going to 2 weeks might be better, but I don't know. That's something else that we can bring up, but yeah, I just wanted
my only so it really just depends on the process from my end. My only concern, I actually think 2 weeks is a better cadence.
Mm-hmm.
But if the goal is to have a community call and a discussion here rather than in the forums for every single proposal, moving the ability to move fast is a huge component of, I think, what makes early stage companies win, or like what makes people be able to operate in like a fast moving space. And so I think if we make it where now when something goes up to proposal in the governance forum, and then it's like a 2-week cycle, and then it's a community call, and then it's a snapshot, that's like too slow to actually get things done. So I think we either need to be comfortable with it going governance forum and then snapshot without the community call, or we keep it at a faster cadence because we need to be able to, like, in generally the protocol has to be able to ship things.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if people are comfortable with it being, you know, every 2 weeks having a community call where we are recapping what's gone on, and then just having like the real focus of like, hey, this has been on Commonwealth, this has got positive sentiment, you know, and things like this could move to Snapshot without having a community call. Yeah, just things that we can discuss maybe, you know, in Commonwealth about this and just get some feedback from the community. But I think that would be really awesome. You know, every week does get to be a little bit much for everyone. And yeah, every 2 weeks might make more sense. But we'll get some feedback on that and see where it goes from there. But as far as timing, I'm glad to know that that's good. But yeah, we've got some good stuff to look forward to here. And like I said, there's 3 snapshots that are up right now, and you know, 1 more coming shortly, it sounds like, then with the USDD. Hi, Izu.
Hello. Yeah, that's Primo. Hello, Primo.
Hey, yeah, hey.
Hey, yeah, so can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Izu.
Yeah, we
Go
got.
ahead.
Okay, so about the media stuff, um, the community curtains. I was kind of suggesting, I don't know, we can be making some, from your end, you can be making some weekly updates. It mustn't be call. It can be content. You just want to know what's up, what's happening.
Yeah.
You get my point? You
Yeah,
get my point, right?
100% agree.
Yeah,
I've spoken about like content creation prior. We're
yeah.
still trying to find somebody to lead that role, but I do think we have this stuff up in the forum now for people to get bounties. So maybe we should put up for something around content for that Tangle or
Yep.
I completely agree with you, and if there's one area that I drastically want to improve upon, it's the ability to have good content out that's digestible for everybody. So 100% on board.
Okay, so yeah, that's good. About the content one, I was kind of looking up things, contrasting and doing a lot of stuff. So that was why I was asking you. That was why I want to really get the point, the mission of in depth about Stargate. That's why I asked you the question in your Telegram. I asked you about the cross. About starting from the onset of multi-chain versus cross-chain argument. The one that Vitalik put up a long
Vitalik's
time ago.
argument. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was kind of peculiar about the oneing of sovereignty. That kind of stuff. So
So I've talked about this a little bit before, but basically, the framing of Vitalik's argument is more or less that wrapped assets are bad, right? And the reason that wrapped assets are bad is that the user bears a huge amount of risk. So when you're a user and you use a protocol, any protocol, say you're using Trader Joe, right? And you do a swap on Trader Joe, you absorb some protocol risk, whatever sort of like the smart contract risk of Trader Joe. But at the end of that, you're done. When you stake into Aave, when you take your money out after, you're done, right? The risk doesn't carry. You just take on the risk of whatever you're using for that time, and then it's over. But with wrapped assets, that's not the case.
yeah,
You lock an
yeah,
asset
sure,
on
sure. I know of
Ethereum.
that, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, sure. I know of that, and I equally made something on Miro. Miro.
Kind of breaking up there, Izu.
Yeah, you cut out. Say it again. A Mirror, right? You put it on Mirror.
Yeah, Izu, I think we lost you here. But yeah, maybe we can follow up with this afterwards if you like.
I have we have a chat in Telegram as well, so
Perfect.
I'll ping him.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Anything else here from anyone just as we wrap up? But I think we've covered a ton of stuff here today. Proposals up. Have a look on Snapshot to vote on those. And yeah, there should be I voted POAPs coming along too for the previous ones. So if you did vote on the previous ones, check it out. I'll keep everyone posted when those are ready. But those are just pending right now, pending POAP to add those in. So you'll be able to, if you voted, you'll be able to mint a POAP saying that you voted. And yeah, of course, voting is an important thing. So please go collect that. And yeah, of course. Yeah, just if you do have an opportunity to try and transfer and use drop yourself some native gas, see if you can test that out and give us some feedback on it. But that's a feature that I've been super stoked about. When I first heard about it, I was like, yeah, this makes so much sense. But yeah, let's I think we can wrap it up there if there's nothing else. But okay. Thanks everyone for coming out this week, and we will chat with you very soon. So stick around afterwards if you want for the POAP. I can make sure that everybody gets that, and off we go. All right. Thanks, Max. Thanks, Primo. Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Monkey. Thanks, Izu. See you guys.